Today I just want to go again how we go from the analysis to the movement. The analysis is where we have our 0 point, then our vertical lines with our 5 mil increment, and our horizontal line with our 10 mil increment going up. As our 0 point is our reference point, everything moves from that point outwards, which means here to the left on the horizontal line and to the top on our vertical line. So how do we go from this analysis where we know we have a 5 mil increase here and a 5 mil increase here to our movement? Our movement is just saying which way we are going to move each point. Our 0 stays 0. So your movement in horizontal axis or X will stay 0. Your movement in vertical axis or Y will stay 0, as our 0 point do not move. Then the next point that we need to create a movement for is the notch. The notch here, if I'm going back to my analysis, I'm looking and I've got my first cut and growth here of 5 millimeter, which means as I go from my 0 point to my notch will then move 5 millimeters, taking that information from there. Then horizontally, I would add 5 millimeter to my growth of my notch, which becomes a movement on the line. Then continuous to my horizontal line, I end up with my left corner point. My left corner point, if I'm looking at it from my 0 point, I have a 5 millimeter growth. I'm continuing, I've got another 5 millimeter growth, which add up to 10. Now, looking at my vertical, if I'm looking at my analysis, I have no growth vertically. So it's quite simple. If I have no growth, it becomes 0. My movement will be 0 because nothing is growing. Going now to my next point. If I'm continuing starting from my 0 point, my next point is going to be that notch on the top. Looking at that notch, from the 0 point, I can see that I've got a vertical line coming, making my point move to the left by 5 millimeter. But I also have a horizontal line that's showing me that my point is going to grow to the top by 10 millimeter. So looking back at my movement, I just have to put those informations in. So 5 millimeters, it's going to grow horizontally. I'm adding my 5 to my notch. Then looking at from my point 0 to my notch, vertically, I have a growth of 10 millimeter. So I will then add 10 to my movement of my point. The last point that I have to add a movement for is the top of my pyramid or my triangle here. If I stay again, the same principle, starting from my 0 point, which doesn't move, I'm looking on my horizontal axis, how much growth do I have? And I can see that I've got a growth of 5 millimeter. There's no other growth between my 0 point and that point horizontally, which means that I will have a movement of 5 millimeter here. Now for my last point going vertically, so I'm going from my 0 point to the top of my pyramid. I'm looking and I can see that my growth would be 10 millimeter going up. So I just put the 10 here. This is all the principle of how to look at your analysis and then adapt to your movement of your piece. If you use then from that analysis to your movement, you will be able with a ruler using your horizontal and vertical line to trace all those changes. So if I had my ruler, I would then know that my notch will move 5 millimeter here. Then I will know that my point will move 10 millimeter here. Then continues to that point, I will know that it will go up 10 millimeter and in 5 millimeter. So if I was to draw it 10 millimeter and 5 millimeter, my notch would probably be around here. Same thing for the top. I will go up 10 millimeter and out 5 millimeter. The top of my pyramid will be around here. And then I will just have to trace my new triangle that has grown from one side from my analysis.